Welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 130, recorded Friday, October 11th, 2019. Just 2 days away from a 13th again, but what are you going to do? Wait for the next one. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Been some time. 2 weeks, to be exact. Stepped away, not for necessarily work reasons, more vacation reasons and life reasons, and just kind of taken some time to enjoy myself, and that's kind of exactly what happened. It's been a whirlwind of activity and trips, and I've been having a blast and loving life and finding contentment and inner peace and happiness and all that fun, happy stuff. I still have a cough, though, so you'll bear with me. I seem to have been hit by the same plague that everybody else is, and the cough and slight congestion is still hanging on like a champ in the 12th round, just will not let go. So I will try to mute the mic in advance, but no promises. So what's happened? Where have I been? Why do you care? No, the end of September, beginning of October, a little lady and I took a trip out to Washington State. Namely, I've been wanting to see Seattle for ages, being the gigantic fan of Frasier that I am. I'm a loyal Microsoft whore, and it also helps that Destiny's development team, well, now publisher, Bungie, is out there. Plus, I like, the atmospheric, moody, overcast, dreary days that have been rumored to occur out there. Plus, it's the birthplace of Starbucks. I am a corporate whore and shill in many ways, and most of my favorite companies happen to be based out there. And no, we've been eyeing it up, or I should say I've been eyeing it up for years now, as potentially moving out there. And so we figured, you know what, let's take a trip. Let's go see what's actually out there and what it has to offer, and we can decide and see what happens. And from there, it kind of led into one extended vacation. It was just supposed to be a week out there, and then on the way back home, I catch this plague, and I had already taken off the next couple days because let me not get ahead of myself. So we went out 2 weeks ago, Wednesday. Stayed out there till Monday. Got back Tuesday morning, like 2 a.m. Then Tuesday morning, well, more like Tuesday evening, Destiny released its latest expansion, Shadowkeep. And despite server issues, I spent the next several days playing that. By the time it came for me to go to work that next Sunday, I had already been stricken by the plague. And took a day and a half off work, and I already had another day and a half scheduled off for vacation because we had a fantastic Ghost concert to go to that Tuesday evening. And now I come back here, and it's just been a whirlwind of activity. And I will say that it's been great to kind of detach from work. Work's been getting rather intense lately as far as like what's going on with the career path, and what are things happening within the company, and where do I stand to move, and what's happening, and what's going on with our services. Just a lot of things adding up, and I think we all get caught in that same kind of rut where you get tunnel vision on the one thing that sucks up the most of your life, and you forget to look at the bigger picture and see life outside of work. And it might, I won't say, oh, am I the only one? Because I fucking hate posts like that. But it's a thing of, I feel more involved with my job than most, where I have a passion. And I feel like an asshole saying it, but I'm the type of guy who I work in the cable industry, so I will look at How are lines run outside? How is the wiring inside of a building? Because I have this innate curiosity. I have this passion for what I do for a living. And I've been so engrossed and involved with what's happening at work that I've kind of sacrificed my own personal life in the sense that I don't do much any longer. I try to record shows on the regular. I've completely abandoned doing artwork. I don't write. I don't do anything. The most I'll do is I'll come home and I'll play video games. And, while Spider-Man and God of War were a fantastic break, eventually I got back to my old tried and true Destiny. And having a week to disconnect from everything, work and video games, and just reset myself was fantastic. And that's exactly what Washington provided me. It helped that we had a couple of friends go out a couple weeks before us, and actually they were staying in the same area. So it's like, okay, well, go see this, go do that. And, Sean, your recommendations were spot on. Ruby Beach was phenomenal, and the sushi house in Olympia is astounding. But that's kind of what this whole thing has done, is it's allowed me to spend a little time with a person named Christian, really get to know him, and find out he's a pretty cool dude. No, it's given me that much needed respite and reprieve from life, and allowed me to enjoy, in a weird way, life. So Seattle itself was it was decided. We are moving out there at some point. Gotta wait for the boy to get grown, get on his own, be an adult, and then we can say fuck you to the Midwest and disappear to the grand beauty of the Pacific Northwest. And when I say grand beauty, I mean it in every sense of the word. It is an absolutely breathtaking place to be, from the overcast skies to the light drizzles to the inlets and the bays and the mountains and the mists rolling off the mountains and trees. I thought I knew what trees were and how woefully ignorant I was. I look at trees now in the Midwest and I think, you pitiful, pathetic things. You're an affront to the name that is a tree. When you look at a majestic behemoth cedar that just towers 50 or 60 feet, these aren't even redwoods. And I'm thinking, dear God, these trees are gigantic, as I crane my neck to look up and see everything that is to be seen around me. And the mountains, just being able to actually have scenery and something to look at, it made all the difference. And, I'll admit, where I live is probably one of the more picturesque parts of the Midwest. I tried to take, said pictures of it. There was a lot to, enjoy about where I live, because where I grew up in Illinois, it's pancake land. It's cornfields and soybeans, and you can see and speak of the devil, that was work itself ringing, and it's aggravating, because 90% of the calls I get are those spam or telemarketer calls. So I was like, oh, this is Rose calling regarding your extended warranty or regarding your credit card. And now they're actively leaving voicemails. So it's super aggravating having to go back and delete that. But let's not get off track with the bullshit that is what pays my bills and pays for trips like these. No, Seattle was just astounding. I say that with pause, as I remember the homeless that also populate Seattle. Now, as somebody who grew up, in and around Chicago, I'm familiar with homeless, and I also, I went to college there. I went, lived for a very solid chunk of time in downtown Chicago. So at that point, I had been hardened to the homeless. You're used to kind of their usual antics of just loitering about, coming up to you, smelling bad, asking for money. But generally, they leave you alone. They're fairly passive. There's that no real point that you ever really get worried about them. Not so in Seattle. Seattle, they are very loud, they are very aggressive, and they're very erratic. And to throw another wrench into the mix there is, you're not really sure who's homeless and who's not. It's almost as if the Derelict campaign from Zoolander came to life, because you can't tell, are they just fashionable hipsters or are these people homeless? Because another caveat is, people fucking talk to themselves constantly out there. And so you're not sure, are they just crazy? Are they just talking to themselves out loud, like thinking out loud? Or you always look for like do they have the AirPods in, or they have Bluetooth? Like, are they talking to somebody on the phone? And much like the whole apparel they're wearing, you're never quite sure. Are they crazy? Are they talking to somebody else? Are they homeless? Or are they fashionable? And on top of that, the homeless, again, super aggressive. They don't really have qualms about yelling at you. One day we're standing at a bus stop, about to go back to our bed and breakfast. And now, bear in mind, Seattle has a very large native population. That's not something I'm used to really dealing with. And while, with that being said, they have their own unique struggles and viewpoints. Again, I'm not used to it, but it totally makes sense when you see again, not quite sure if he was homeless or just batshit insane, native standing on a corner screaming to everybody, piece of shit, take a boat, go back to England or wherever you came from, motherfucker. Everybody that he would pass, he'd make a gauge on where he thought they were from. So say they are Chinese. Piece of shit, take a boat, go back to China, motherfucker. The entire 15 minutes we're standing there waiting for the bus, he is screaming this at the top of his lungs at everybody that walks by. And of course, the initial thought is, oh, is he going to do something? Because again, he's a larger fellow. No, he's just going to stand there on the corner and scream nonstop. The other question then that pops up is, fuck, is he going to take the bus with us? Because that's going to be a really shitty bus ride. Because I'm not quite sure if the bus driver would do anything about it, but thankfully it never became an issue as he didn't get on. What did become an issue, though, was the next night taking the bus back, we hear a beeping noise. Not quite sure what it is. It kind of sounds like a pager going off or like a really quiet car alarm. We look and we see that again, not sure if he's homeless or just crazy, fellow sitting on the bus with a lap full of Champion apparel, taking a lighter to the security alarm on a pair of shoes. As he's burning through the security belt, he eventually gets it, rips it apart, cracks the window on the bus, and chucks the sensor out. As at this point, he sets the shoes aside, and he starts looking at the pajama bottoms, the shirts, the hat, and figuring out, how am I going to get these security tags off? Because it's not just the sensor with the strand on these, it's the actual ink tags that require, the staple remover. It's like, really? Thankfully, he didn't fuck with it too much longer, and somebody sitting next to him was like, oh, hey, are those pajama pants? At which point he got weirded out and, proceeded to tug on the line and get off the bus at the next stop. But just the sheer ballsiness of these people. And again, it's just this weird mix of you're not quite sure what they are. And that also pairs in with the overall vibe in Seattle. Be it downtown or where we stayed, 20 minutes away from downtown, along Martin Luther King Jr. The weird thing about Seattle is that no matter where you are, block to block varies in terms of, general feeling of safety. say you're around downtown, the aquarium, Ivar's, the stadiums, places like that, you generally feel kind of safe because that's a very touristy area. You go one block up to Pike's Place Market, mostly feeling still fairly safe. Go yet another block, well, it depends on which block you went up from on Pike's. I'm not feeling so great. Not feeling great at all. Still, you're in a very metropolitan downtown area. There's a large mixture of people, but the homeless are really taking it to the next level with their crazy. And again, doesn't matter. You're downtown, you're further away from downtown. The same kind of holds true no matter where you are. Oh, good Lord, the crazies. But, all right, that was a quick 15 minutes. I'm not going to ramble all of it, but we've got enough content for several shows here. So I'm going to cut it now. Next episode, we'll kind of get into what happens outside of Seattle and the area surrounding it, which is very desolate but breathtaking. So in the interim, that's going to wrap this up. You can write the show. Yeah. If you have your own thoughts, or have you been out there, or just want to tell me what a piece of shit I am and that I'm a motherfucker, you can do so. The show can be emailed at theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Again, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. End of the year's coming up. Tell folks they can get the show wherever they get podcasts. And, of course, you can always head over to the store, pick up a shirt or some stickers. Going to have some new merch going up here soon. But until next time, blood for the blood god.